92-year-old Jared peacefully died. Isabel was buried right by his side. Nothing could sever true love they shared. Now they're together forever. What a fine, fine state of affairs. Everybody, they're together forever. What a fine, fine state of affairs. Mighty fine now.
You're listening to Big Blend Radio, Champagne Sunday show. Right now, I feel like we should be drinking rum, actually.
I feel like going and partying in Mexico now.
I don't know. I just feel like we should be on the beach drinking rum. But you're listening to Big Blend Radio, Champagne Sunday show with Nancy and Lisa, and you just heard Fine State of Affairs. That's what every Sunday morning is like. It's a fine state of affairs. And it's a title track of the latest album by the Gunboat-Diplomats, an indie group from Jacksonville, Florida. And we're happy to have Mr. Gunboat Smith on the show with us today. Now go to their website, gunboat-diplomats.com, and of course you can get their music everywhere. You can go to YouTube and watch videos. You can go to Amazon and buy the music. You can go to iTunes, Bandcamp, Spotify, all kinds of places. So welcome aboard, Gunboat Smith. How are you?
Well, hello, ladies. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
Hey, it's good to have you on this show. So are you really, did you ditch the champagne really? Are you onto like something that comes from a barrel?
I am imbibing in some W.L. Weller Reserve bourbon out of a Kentucky distillery, the Buffalo
Very
Trace.
Nice.
Yes, it's a smooth. It makes me feel like a Southern gentleman.
Well, I like this because you're prepping us for our trip to Kentucky this year, because we're going to the Bourbon Trail, on the Bourbon Trail.
We might stay there.
We might have to do everything to do on the Bourbon Trail. It may take us a year.
We may have to run the Bourbon Trail.
I don't know if we can run it.
So I was in a rush. I did not get to make an old-fashioned. I had to just put a splash of Coca-Cola in there. I think that's against the law in Kentucky. So don't tell them I did that.
Well, you're in Jacksonville, and you've got guns. So
yes, that's true.
But don't say that to anybody in Kentucky, because they've got guns too.
They do. I may be outgunned.
Yeah, you never know. We could have a Hatfield and McCoy's, shootout. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh boy.
You wrote an article once. It was years ago on. I don't even think we have it on the website anymore. Years ago, Nancy wrote something about the Hatfield McCoys, and Michael McCoy emailed you and said all these things, and we'd invited him on a radio show, but then he chickened out. So I'm just saying, Mr. McCoy. Uh-oh.
The extent of my knowledge on that is from the old reruns of the old black and white TV show. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that, but it was the Real McCoys.
The Real McCoys. That's right. I never saw that, but I know they did like some documentary on it or something.
Wasn't that just a comedy?
I don't know.
Yes, wacky. Yes, that's what makes it so sad. That's the extent of my knowledge.
Yeah, that was
wacky
like
comedy. You and Peppina, get on back to the barn, Luke.
I know. It's like, were you ever stung by a dead bee?
Yeah, it was like the Beverly Hillbillies or something, right? It was
Walter somebody or other, that
Brennan.
old dude.
That was my Walter Brennan impression.
Yeah, that's
there you go.
I'm not going to win any awards for it, but the Real McCoys TV show may never come up again. So
there you go.
It's good night, John Boy.
How did you come up with the Gunboat-Diplomats?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we were searching around for a name for our little outfit, and we kind of wanted something with a little bit of an edge to it, but not too much, something that kind of implied that there might be something going on, like impending danger. Well, we didn't want, like, the death metal band name, like, In Concert, Slaughter of the Innocent, nothing that heavy.
Yep.
And we didn't want to just say, Looks Like Trouble. I mean, that sounds like a dumb sitcom. Looks Like Trouble, starring Dick Van Patten. So we we took the gunboat diplomats because there is an actual policy called gunboat diplomacy, which it's a term to describe a foreign policy that's backed by a threat of force. So there's this kind of built-in dichotomy between diplomacy, which is formal protocols and negotiations, treaties, and all that, and that contrasts with the gunboat, which implies potential danger. And maybe we overthought it, but we just thought it sounded cool and kind of a little official, like we're Southern gentlemen and diplomats. So that's how we came up with it. And all, the website and the names of the albums are all related policies and, fine state of affairs, manifest destiny. All of those are plays on policy words.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was saying. We should send your album to the White House and to everybody in Congress.
Out.
They need to listen to some music. They do need to shake it up. I mean, seriously, they need to.
I would like to go up there with a gunboat and possibly.
That would be fun.
I think that I would like to see them play musical chairs. I think that would be really funny.
Yeah. You know how, there's that certain point of the evening when a band is performing, and then, we always talk about this on the show, how there's women who do the squat dance, and they start to go down, like they start to, do the twist, and then they get down to a level, and they can't get back up, some of them. But then there's the chain, where everybody starts doing the train dance thing or whatever. They're all in the conga line thing. I remember our band years ago, we were doing some New Year's gig, and we had to go, it was for this horse group out in the desert. And so we're setting up in the afternoon before anything, and people were getting their food or something, but we were doing a sound check. And all of a sudden, people did a conga line while they were getting food to our sound check, and our bass player basically fell to the ground giggling. You fell down to the ground, too, giggling.
Well, we were playing Mustang Sally.
Yeah, and they started doing a conga line at 2 in the afternoon, and we're like, we haven't even had a cocktail yet. This is insane. But that's what, if we played Fine State of Affairs, like at one
That's
of
got
these,
conga line written all over it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Sure. But if you played it like when everybody's in Congress and talking about shutdowns, you just play that and see what happens to them.
Start a limbo party, going to the bar there and see how low they'll go.
Yeah.
Well, don't even start me about how low they will go. They've hit that low.
Well, they're politicians. They can go pretty low, right? It's kind of built into the cookie. Yeah.
I know. Now, this album, you've got like everything in there. It's a little bit of everything. So it's pretty cool because I think it takes in all ages and it takes in all genres. And it's like, it's a good album for a road trip because you could pick songs for different places. And, I like albums like this where you can it keeps you going, especially when we drive across Texas. I'm listening to this because.
Well, we wanted to create something that had a kind of a surprise turn every time the next song came on. Not like 12 blues songs, not 12 rock songs, but the silly one you just played, which is just for fun, right? And there's a bluesy one, and there's a gospel one, and there's a Motown one, and there's a power pop one. Like the old album, if you nobody should ever compare themselves to the Beatles, but I'm going to compare what we were trying to do. They'll be you used to put on a Beatles album, and Paul would have something that sounded like it came out of a London pub, right? Honey pie, you were meant to be me, right? Then the next song is some psychedelic thing from John Lennon, and then you get something out of India that Harrison learned at the feet of Ravi Shankar, and then you got
now
Octopus's
you just have to
Garden.
call
just different. That's what we wanted to do.
That's it. I like that because it does. It keeps you entertained, and it does make you expand your horizons too. Because as listeners, we can go off into the world of just only listening to one thing, and that's death, I think. If you just listen to one kind of music and that's it.
No, that's not fun.
Yeah, music.
I agree.
Listen to a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You used to get that on Top 40 radio. Way back when, in the, I don't know, maybe it was the Paleolithic period or something, AM radio, Top 40, had variety. If you turned in a Top 40 radio station a way long time, before FM took over everything, and that was the album wherein you'd listen to an entire album on FM. But AM Top 40 would have, a hit by Frank Sinatra, and then a Beatles, and then a Rolling Stones, and then a folk song, and then something else, and then a one-hit wonder. It was a lot of variety. Now, you might not have loved every song, but you got something different every couple of minutes. And I kind of miss that radio today is so narrowly formatted.
Now we just call it Hotel California.
That's all you hear over and over. Or Adele. I remember driving through Texas.
Right.
I always try to get different. I want to get the local radio outfits because it's interesting, And sometimes, Texas is interesting because you can go into Norteno music and then all of a sudden to the Papa German music and then all of a sudden as you do going across the country, you will hit the same market where they're doing the same playlist, and it's like you can go from one channel to the next, or station, to the next, and you'll get the same playlist. And you're like, you just played this, and you're like, oh, we crossed, state lines or county lines, and now we're on the same playlist, which sucks. It's like, road trips.
We joke around that they've been so narrowly formatted. There's probably a station called 96.9 Eagle, where we play the Eagles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just all Eagles song. Next up, Hotel California by the Eagles.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what happened on
I
Sirius
love the Eagles,
Radio.
but you're doing it to death,
Bob Dylan.
Right?
And Elvis.
Right.
It's just an Elvis channel.
I miss those. I miss the variety of it. But you can find variety now on the worldwide interwebs. There's all kind of indie stuff out there. Okay. If you feel like searching for it, you will find the variety, you crave.
Well, that's why we're called The Blend, because we have more interest in one thing, I
saw the write-up for the show, and there's just a guy talking about running and how to keep your lactic acid down. I'm lactic intolerant, so I don't run anymore. But you're going to have a cooking guy on. And then some music. You got the whole blend going there.
Yeah, you got to have a little bit of everything.
Right.
So it's a good thing. It keeps you, interested in different channels and in different things, and that's an important. So with this now, so you've got the Zoe Tribe Studios. This is where you write and record. So I want to know what the studio looks like.
Oh, it's my buddy's studio, and he's converted a space into it. So it's kind of retro built. It's a little bit crowded, but we like it. It's got everything we need, and it's not a big palatial. We call it the embassy, but I don't think you'd guess it was an embassy from looking at it from the outside. But with electronics these days, you just don't need gigantic rooms where echo chambers and big grand pianos in the corner. It's not that. It's a kind of a home studio.
Nice.
In a retrofitted building. But we do the best we can with it. I think it comes out okay.
And these albums take a little while to put together, don't they? Because there's so much in it. And it has a very live vibe to it, which I love that, because I want to feel like I'm
that's awesome.
In a room with the band, and that's I want to feel like I'm at a show, And you've got a lot of that in there, and you've got a lot of emotion in it, and it's a badass album. I love it. What is it like putting it all together? Because you work with different people, right? Or I know there's a Commodore involved in this too.
Commodore Perry is the head of the whole thing, who in real life, of course, used gunboat diplomacy to open up Japan to trade all those years ago. It is hard to put together, one, time-wise, just because we don't get into the studio as often as we'd like, and two, we're using so many different people that coordinating the schedules is a logistical challenge, to say the least. I always say that Hannibal had less trouble getting the elephants across the Alps than we do getting everybody together. So it's a time-consuming affair to get everybody lined up. We don't gig or anything. That would be out of this world. Too hard to get everybody together. There must be 25 different people on that album.
That's a lot. That's a lot to orchestrate, And but it's exciting when you have this project like that, and it's just becomes like, okay, are we going to make this happen today, or to work with different people like that brings in all kinds of different flavors for what you guys are doing. So I think that's cool, And being able to do it out of a home, that is even better. I think, home-based studios are, I don't know, they're cozy, man. It's like you can go outside and have a beer if you want.
Absolutely. And we've learned with all these different folks coming in, the writing and the arrangements. I mean, sometimes you have, if you do like a big band arrangement, it's got to be tight and everybody's got to play that note. But we'll kind of learn to write things in a way that lets the talented guy coming in have a little room to create. And then you get all, like you say, a blend. If you don't write the bass line and say, play that, but instead say, here's what we're doing, what can you come up with? The guy's going to come up with something 10 times better than you could have invented, right? And then it just adds that extra spice to the mix. And then the horn player comes in and he comes up with something. It's a way better synergy. I promise not to use the word synergy ever again, but that was the one that popped into my head there. It's a new paradigm. No, yeah. It's way better to let them have a little bit of room to create for you, and it's funner too. It's more fun.
Yeah. Fun is key. I mean, that's the thing. I remember when we had our band, like there were days where it's really fun, and then there's always
scandal.
Well, we had drummers come and go, and it was important for that. That had to happen. But some people didn't have that fun element. You know, it's like it was this like job that they had to do kind of thing, and then they didn't last. We had to get rid of them because it just was.
It wasn't fun anymore.
It's not creative.
Right.
When you don't have that. You know, I don't know. To me, there's this flow that has to happen with music and creating, and everybody put your ego aside and just create, and it's fun. And if you're with the right people, it really you can teach each other stuff, but
as
some
much
people.
Fun as
Go ahead.
sorry. As much fun as it is to sit down and write a song and figure out what the chord progression is, how am I going to say what I want to say in an original way.
Yeah.
As much fun as all that is, sitting alone in a room, when you get the other folks in the room and you've left a little room open and they're game for it to come in and go, hey, why don't we do this here? Why don't we do why don't we transpose keys right here for a couple of minutes? And then the little light bulb goes on your head. You go, I would have never thought of that in a million years.
Exactly.
The more the merrier is true.
So what is Jacksonville like? Because I know we need to come out to Jacksonville, and I haven't been there since we used to live in Florida years and years ago. We used to live up in the Panhandle and then also West Palm Beach area. And Jacksonville, I remember going through Jacksonville, but it was really, really quick. It was after, we were on our way across through Tallahassee, and then you'd get to Jacksonville and go south.
We called it uneven pavement.
Yeah, I remember getting, and lost and whatever. But what's it like musically? And, I mean, you're not far from St. Augustine. Yeah.
For about 40 minutes from St. Augustine.
Nice.
And 3 hours from Tallahassee, where I went to school. I live, at the beach.
Cool.
It's a little different than Jacksonville proper, and the beach here is still not a tourist, mecca, which I like. It has tourists and stuff, and that's fine, and tourists are fine.
Yeah.
But it's not Daytona, so I'm going to draw the difference. Sorry, listeners from Daytona. I'm not trying to diss Daytona or anything, but Daytona is packed, and it's surf shops and T-shirt shops and this and that. And this is more, Jacksonville Beach is a little more like an old-time beach. If you want to go to where the crowd is and where the music is on the deck, you can go there. But if you just go a mile in the other direction, you'll have a pristine stretch of beach with nobody around. And I really like that.
Cool.
So do you still have those bars, like when we lived out in Destin and that area, you'd go out and there'd be like bars right out in the water. Like, do you have that out there?
We don't have any out on the pier or anything, but it used to be, like in my parents' day, the pier was so big before Hurricane Dora tore the whole thing down, but the pier was so big that they had a ballroom there and big bands would come and play. And you'd dance on the pier under the moonlight. So
nice.
I almost channel their memories and think, how cool would that have been?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I love that. I mean, there's just I remember my uncles moving over and going from Southern California to Florida, and then they went back to California, then they went back to Florida, and they've always had that
back and forth
thing because California, I mean, it got so built up, and Florida, there was this. It is more hippie in a way, I think, than California in some ways. There's this relaxed vibe, man. And it's like whatever happens, happens. There's just a chilled out factor to Florida, as I recall.
Well, it's not as crowded.
Yes, and half the people you see, if you go out in the morning, even in winter because it's so warm, they're in flip-flops, you know. They're relaxed. They're going to the coffee shop, and you know, it is kind of a laid-back thing.
So do you go out and see a lot of music? Is it a music town?
Yeah, it's got a lot of good music. A lot of it's downtown, further than I go, because I get up so early. But there are a lot of good venues, and there are a lot of venues for people to play originals. Of course, the big clubs want to get the crowd dancing, and they want covers. But there's plenty of room for. There's a lot of folk and of course Southern rock and blues stuff here.
Freebird.
Yeah,
Land.
there was a Freebird Cafe owned by the widow of one of the Skinner guys here. Just changed ownership. That played. It was 1 block from the beach, called Freebird Cafe, and they had all kind of live bands playing originals in there.
Right on. So, what got you into music?
I always just was fascinated with music, but I was never a musician per se. For instance, I may come up with the songs and arrange them. I play on some of them if they're super simple. You know, I'm just not adept enough to do the really complex stuff. So I got to bring in talented musicians. But I can remember listening to songs when I was a kid and thinking, what? How come 2 people are singing 2 different notes, but it sounds cool?
Yeah.
And just being fascinated. How do they make that work? How do they know which note will sound good with that one? Not realizing I was tapping on the outside of music theory, you know, trying to figure out how a harmony works.
Yeah, it is neat. It is mathematical. It's so weird because there's all that technical stuff in music, and it's that trick of putting that stuff in there, adding the dynamics so it's not like reading math.
Right, it's math with style. That's what I call music.
Flow.
It's math with style.
Yeah.
You know, there's only so many notes in the Western tradition. There's 12 notes, and there's these chords, and there's the major and the minor and the other modes, and so there's these rules. But the guys who bend the rules, the bebop jazz guys, and Debussy writes atonal stuff, and he's bending the rules so you don't know what key you're in. That's interesting to my ears, having been founded in the regular tradition, and then to hear something push that envelope. Now, that doesn't mean that I can sit there and listen to 3 hours of Thelonious Monk. It's so complex that my brain would implode, right? I just would never, I couldn't understand. It would be like me trying to figure out Einstein's theories or something.
That's why a lot of
that guy
people
was so far out there
cannabis when they listen to that. There's like a different kind of thing that happens when you get into
you got to be. Well, if you sit down and you're open-minded and you're listening to Thelonious Monk, I'm trying to like it. I realize that a whole bunch of expert people like it. They can't all be wrong, so I'm going to listen and I'm going to try to like it. And I do like it. It's so different, but I can't come close to understanding how we got there, right? So I a couple of minutes in, and then I'm lost and confused, and I'm in a vortex of confusion, right? So then I got to go back to something I'm familiar with.
It's interesting how you can merge it all together. I want to play a lullaby. Do you mind if we play that?
Oh wow!
Yeah,
sure.
Because it's beautiful, and it's completely different than Fine State of Affairs. I want people to hear this, so we'll play that because I also want to talk about Manifest Destiny in your next album. But everyone, take a listen. Again, it's from the Gunboat-Diplomats, and you can go to gunboat-diplomats.com. And you're on everything, really, for people to go and catch up with your music, right? It's Amazon, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook.
Everywhere where indie music is languishing in obscurity, we are there.
Okay. So you're really going for it. We're going to be online, and that's how you're going to get the experience. So do you ever see – I know there's so many people involved. Do you ever see at least like one performance come out, like ever, like an annual show or something?
I wish that it would be so, but I can't imagine that we. I mean, half the people that we wanted this past weekend in the studio were on the road.
Yeah.
With other gigging bands, so it's just almost impossible.
This is cool. Everybody, take a listen to a lullaby.
Close your eyes, my child. Go to sleep, my dear.
everyone again, that was a lullaby, and that is off of Fine State of Affairs by the Gunboat-Diplomats. So there's no guns with that one.
Right. That's the song, there's 12 songs on it, and they're just love from different angles. So the first one you played, the very first song, is the kind of the introduction, where, meaning the next 11 songs are going to be about love. And we thought, well, how are we going to end this? We thought, well, we'll put it in a very soft landing. And what greater love than a mother for a baby, right? And so we just decided to do a nice soft lullaby. That's Megan Diamond doing some great singing there.
Beautiful.
Eric Brigman on the piano.
Beautiful, beautiful. I just thought, that was a shock. That what you say about all these surprises in the album, it totally was. And I think it plays like a movie, the album.
Somebody told me that they heard it and that they said, did you ever consider writing like some kind of pop rock opera?
Yeah.
And I said, it could work in that way. It's kind of a concept, semi-storyline going through it. There's a connecting tissue between all the songs. So if Andrew Lloyd Webber or somebody wants to call me up and we can collaborate, then I'll be happy to.
Well, Obsessive Love, that song, that you need to call Quentin Tarantino for.
That's a good song if you feel like sawing somebody's ear off while they're
tied
to the chair.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh, man. What was that movie that he did that? And they were playing Stuck in the Middle
with
with
You?
Reservoir
Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs.
Can you hear? Oh. Yeah, can you hear Stuck in the Middle with You anymore and not think of ears being sawed off?
I can't. Every time.
Yeah,
he's killed that song. It's like that. But then again, I know whatever's going on in the news about him, but the reality is, his movies take you over the edge, and the music is such a big part of it. Like, you could be watching that movie for the first time, and all innocent. Like, here's a young girl and her new boyfriend. They go on their first date, and they're sitting there. She's sipping on a milkshake, and all of a sudden that song comes on. There goes that ear, man.
Yeah.
It's going off.
Well, Tarantino, to me, the thing that's fascinating is the crackling dialogue that he writes. That is really grounded in how people talk. It's very vernacular in the midst of the action, whether they're fighting Nazis or whether they're, a bunch of hitmen robbing a bank or whatever the scenario is. The dialogue just draws you in. And so for me, it helps ground everything, and I can suspend my disbelief on whatever else is happening because a lot of it's pastiche. I remember seeing there's one of them from Dusk Till Dawn, and they go rob a bank.
Here.
And the guy gets shot in the hand, and there's banter back and forth, and they have some more philosophical talk with the preacher man, and then suddenly they're in the bar there in Mexico, and it turns into a B vampire movie.
Yeah.
Well, where'd that come from?
I don't know. You had a bad dinner when you wrote it.
I think he needs your because that's the thing. He takes you on twists into different places, and I think that's a good thing. Look at Django.
He surprises you.
Django was pretty.
The genius of Pulp Fiction to me was telling the story not in chronological order. And the movie Memento did that very, very well. It adds a layer of guessing and intensity to the drama. Oh, that's that guy. We already saw. Oh, this is before that happened. It's got your mind working the whole time. It's very interesting.
Well, the best part is Samuel L. Jackson. Seriously, he is the man. He is, no matter what, he is the man. I'm just saying. It's
okay, I agree that movie. Now, tell me what you thought of him in that Star Wars movie he was in.
We didn't see that.
Oh, okay. Well,
I know. It's
oh
my God, we didn't see Star Wars. But
he was in one of them. This was years ago. It was like the first one that came out after the original three, and it was a prequel or whatever. And he's in these flowing robes, and he's marching down for the meeting of the council of the universe or whatever to do. Yeah. It didn't. I said, man, well, he pulls it off in Shaft, and he pulls it off in the Bruce Willis movie he was in. I couldn't buy it, but maybe that's just my bias. Maybe that's just my.
Maybe Tarantino needs to
do
Star Wars. Could you imagine that?
I think it was already done, and doing it again is maybe. Sometimes I just feel, can't you move on to something new? Why do we have to keep taking the old stuff and redoing it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I was of the age where Star Wars should have been directed right at me. I should have been the hugest fan, a young boy and all that. And I saw it and it was enjoyable. It was a popcorn movie, but I'm sorry, but I couldn't get into it. I kept thinking, what, this Luke Skywalker guy is the hero? I mean, I can kick his butt, and I'm 14. He has a page boy haircut, for God's sake.
It's not the same as Rocky. You know.
Right. Rocky was inspiring. He looked tough. I'm
everybody.
sorry,
that's when everybody started
started
running. Okay, that's where running. That is like one movie that will. I remember as kids like coming out of the movies, and we're like, dude, let's run. And then it's like, why are we doing that? Let's go around the corner and have a cigarette behind the bushes.
Run up the stairs.
It's like, what are we doing? But it's funny. But now, do you see yourself writing, music for movies? Like if someone came and said, hey, like, can you do the soundtrack? Would you do it?
Oh, I absolutely would. That would be something falling right in your lap. Rarely happens. I do shop the stuff around, on internet radio stations and stuff, but also to licensing places because I think some of them, whether the instrumental versions or whatever, would fit into something cinematic. Mm-hmm. And so we're shopping it around that way. We got a couple of nibbles. We'll see how that goes.
Good. And now Manifest Destiny, that's your next album you're working on. Tell us about that. How's it going?
Slow, just like the first one. But so again, Manifest Destiny was a policy of spreading out all the way west across America. But that's not what the album is about. We're taking the more literal form of there's this obvious destiny that you have. So that we have 2 songs out on it so far. And we were working on the opening track just this weekend, and we'll be adding track by track until we get all 14 of them done in the year 2097.
Okay, well I'm glad. I'll have white hair, but that's okay. White hair can be glamorous too. It's all good. But I think it just goes with beach time, man. It's manana time. Just do it bit by bit. When quality comes out, I think it's important. Like instead of people rushing an album because they have to, whenever you rush something, it just doesn't come out the same. Unless sometimes there's this power surge of like creativity, and then the song is just like there it is, it's perfect. That happens. But to me, I think when things just take time, so what? So it's like a good thing. Makes people wait.
That's right, and it's not as if be self-deprecating here, but it's not as if 1,000 people are knocking on the door. When's the next song? That's not happening. So I can take my time. Nobody's waiting. Like we say, always leave them wanting less.
Yeah, that's it. Wanting less, No, you're supposed to leave them wanting more. That's what you're supposed to do.
I knew it was something like that. Yeah.
I know. So are you interested in history? Is that part of it too? Has that always been a thing for you?
I am interested in history, particularly military history. And so the panache of the name appealed to me in that way too. Mm-hmm. So, and Manifest Destiny, we do a little graphic for each song, so that when we put it out there on Spotify and everything, it's got a graphic to it. And they're all really old photographs. So, like I say, we do, this one will have many different genres on it too. The first 2 are folk and then a country, and there's a pop song we're working on and a bossa nova to put in it. So it'll be just as all over the map as the first one.
What we're going to play, I'm not going back to Jacksonville.
Okay.
But now, when you look at where you're located, and then St. Augustine, because we just did an interview on St. Augustine and Augustine. See, I've got my own language, and that's why we're in radio, so I can screw everything up. That's probably how you pronounce
his name, right? St. Augustine was probably the actual guy that it's named after. Mm-hmm. So you aren't far off.
I lived in different countries, and a lot of them had that European thing, and so there we go. But it's the oldest city in the country, and I didn't know that. We all thought it was like up there by Boston or something. You'd think that would be, but it turns out that's the oldest one. So you're right next to that. So you're in like a historical hotbed. How does that make you feel?
No. St. Augustine, you can go there and you can see the fort there. And it's made of coquina, and I like climbing up there and seeing. So this is how they wanted to protect the mouth of the river here, and why did they put a cannon here, You know, I'm thinking tactics and stuff while I'm there, and you know, the tourists around are like, well, where can I get some ice cream? But then there's the whole T-shirt shop row. But there's lots of great restaurants and live music in St. Augustine too.
Cool.
It's happening little place, and they have an amphitheater, and they bring through all the bands that if you missed them, this is your last chance to see them. You know, they got the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan. All those guys come through there and play every month.
And go see them because they're going quicker than ever, man. It just seems like it's like every day. I mean, the bass player from Foghat died yesterday.
Oh man.
I know. It's like every time he's the lead singer of the Temptations and this person and that person and then like a bunch of the old school writers. That people don't think about who wrote all these songs. And you just, it's like, you know, don't wait for the Grammys to find out or for them to die to find out who they were, because they're
well, it's all my influences too. I mean, we say that we write songs in genres that haven't been popular in 50 years, and that's why we're so popular.
There you go. Okay, so I've got to ask you, what is your champagne toast or your bourbon toast, I should say?
Oh, time for the toast? Okay, guess what? I came up with a fresh and funky rhyme. Okay, Here we go. I'm gonna say it in my poetry reading voice. You'll excuse me. The moment has arrived, my friend, when all good things must reach their end. Only time knows what fate brings, so appreciate the finer things. Good fellowship and witty banter, the elixir from this decanter. So lift it high, prepare to drain your glass of bourbon or champagne. And so we say before we go, a toast to Big Blender Radio. Thank you.
Like
thank
that.
you in the studio audience.
I like that. I like that.
I like it.
I like that. I feel like I need to wear a cape.
Yes, we need to be in our finest Sunday go-to-meeting clothes for that one.
Yeah, like we need to dress as superheroes. I like that.
Oh, really? A cape?
I want a cape for that. I think so.
Get one, and then you can go running.
You should have a cape and a wig. A cape and a wig. Like, you know, if you're going to be, you know, that was well done.
Superhero movies are in now. You mean you won't feel out of place.
Yeah, you can do that. Okay, so we're going to play I'm Not Going Back to Jacksonville, because I want to play that and show all these different sides of your music, which is awesome. And we're going to be playing a lot of your music on Big Blend Radio because we like it. And it's cool.
It's fun.
And it's
awesome.
fun, and it gets you thinking. And we do a lot of history shows, too. And then I was going to play I'm Not Going Back to Jacksonville on the Florida show we did the other day, but we had to wait for you to get on here, you know. It's like, come on now. You're late. Get
yes,
over here.
Oddly enough, I did come back to Jacksonville after living overseas. So,
oh, yeah. Where did you live
factor
overseas?
That in. Oh, I've been everywhere overseas almost. I've been in Germany and Iraq and Afghanistan and all the wonderful places that you can go. So I came back to Jacksonville on purpose. But the song, we just wanted to use Jacksonville in it just as a shout out. It doesn't mean that I don't want to come back here, obviously.
Well, welcome home.
I did want to come back here. If you're stuck in Afghanistan, you absolutely want to come back to Jacksonville.
Yeah, really. Yeah. We lived in Africa for most of our years, and I don't know. It's a split, man. I don't want to live anywhere. I just want to keep floating around because it's cool. You know, Florida was cool, and I miss the gators. I really miss gators and the swampy parts. You know, so
well, please don't let this song convince you that you shouldn't visit like you said you would earlier.
See, no, we're definitely coming out your way. So be prepared. We'll come see you after we go through Kentucky, and we'll bring you some bourbon. How about that?
I would love that.
See, we're good travelers. We're happy travelers.
We go in circles.
And we do go in circles because GPS sucks. So there it is. That's what I have to say about that. Everyone, go to gunboat-diplomats.com and YouTube, iTunes, all of those great places to keep up with them and their music. Bandcamp. We'll go right to their website. They're on Facebook. But here it is. I'm Not Going Back to Jacksonville. Thanks so much for joining us, Gunboat Smith.
Thank you.
Hi, matey. Cool. All right. Here it is. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Can't
Bye-bye.
get no rest, but I feel fine. I'm headed west, track number 9. That lonely whistle blows, the only song it knows, and so it goes on down the line. tried to play my conscience right, but I watched my house of cards ignite. For all I know, it's burning still. Before the dust had settled down, I knocked off the rust and I got a town. And I'm not going back to Jacksonville. Bad news, I travel fast, but not quick enough to lose the past.